Welcome to the Explainer. So, I want you to picture something. What if Malcolm Gladwell went back to his most famous work, The Tipping Point? But here's the twist. Instead of defending it, he's forced to confront its dark side with the very people who understand its dangers better than anyone. That's the imagined reckoning we're exploring today.
You see, this isn't just a simple look back. It's a deep dive into what happens when these really elegant ideas about social change get turned into powerful and sometimes pretty dangerous tools of control.
We're going to break this down into 5 parts. First, when do small things become dangerous? Then, how did influence become a weapon? After that, why does all the bad stuff seem to spread faster? Can our institutions even fight back? And finally, we'll hit the big one, the ultimate moral question behind all of this. All right, let's get into it. So we're going to start right where Gladwell himself would have to start, with a really troubling question about his own idea, a feeling that the magic he once described now casts a pretty long shadow. This question is really the heart of the whole problem, right? When does that little nudge, that clever design that's supposed to help us out, cross some kind of invisible line and turn into something coercive? Sociologist Everett Rogers, who actually inspired a lot of Gladwell's work, he puts it perfectly. The danger isn't the tool itself, it's the intent. The line gets crossed the very second helping turns into steering, especially when we haven't given our permission. And Cass Sunstein, the legal scholar, he builds right on top of that. For him, the real issue is when we can't even see the influence anymore, or when we have no real way to say, no thanks. The whole system becomes so hidden that our freedom to just opt out basically vanishes. Zeynep Tufekci brings this whole idea right into our world, the digital age. She points to these automated systems that are designed to reward speed and outrage above everything else. And when you detach influence from any kind of human responsibility, well, tipping points don't just happen, they completely spiral out of control. So the main takeaway from all these thinkers is this. The danger has nothing to do with how big the nudge is, it's all about the design of the system. Does it respect our consent? Who's held accountable? And can we even see what's influencing us in the first place? Okay, so that idea naturally leads us to the second, and honestly much more disturbing part of this story, the deliberate weaponization of influence. This is the point where a cool theory stops being an observation and starts becoming a tool. Shoshana Zuboff, she absolutely nails when this all started. It was the moment companies realized our behavior wasn't just something to watch, but a raw material, something to be mined, predicted, and then changed for profit. Suddenly, tipping points weren't just random events anymore, they became business goals. And this slide just perfectly captures what Yuval Noah Harari talks about, the absolutely mind-boggling change in speed and scale. Think about it. Myths that used to take generations to spread through campfire stories can now be shot into the culture by an algorithm in just a few hours, literally rewriting our shared reality as it's happening. So who's left holding the bag for all this? Well, as you can see, it's not the powerful people who benefit. The costs get spread out across all of society. Our trust in each other disappears, our institutions get weaker, and our collective sense of, human dignity just gets hollowed out. This engineering of influence creates a pattern that I think we all recognize, right? It feels like disorder, outrage, and cruelty just spread like wildfire, while order and kindness have to struggle. So why is that? Well, psychologist Jonathan Haidt explains this with something he calls moral asymmetry. And this chart shows it really clearly. Our brains are just hardwired to give top priority to threats, things that spark fear or anger. They hijack our attention instantly. But the positive stuff, like trust and kindness, that takes a lot more time to build and register. So the big idea here isn't that people have gotten worse. It's not some fundamental change in human nature. It's that our digital world is now basically paying for cruelty and outrage, because those are the emotions that get the most clicks and shares. The system is just rewarding all the wrong things. Okay, so after laying out how big the problem is, the conversation has to shift to a really tough but critical question. Is it too late? Can our institutions, our governments, our schools, our legal systems, can they actually adapt and fight back against this stuff? Well, the thinkers in our imaginary room, They seem to think so. They argue that the institutions that work have clear strategies. It's not about heroics, it's about the process. They make it okay to admit you were wrong, they are constantly listening, they anchor their rules in a real moral purpose, and they adapt to what's actually happening on the ground.
But that just brings up another really tough question. If we kind of know what works, why does it feel like so many of our institutions are just failing to do it? Why does it feel like they're backing away instead of stepping up?
Well, it turns out the reasons are deeply human. It's fear. Fear of making a tough call and being judged for it. It's systems that are built for short-term profit, not long-term stability. And it's ego, just a simple, stubborn refusal to admit that something is broken and actually needs to be fixed.
And that leads us to the final and I think by far the most profound part of this whole discussion. If we have this incredible power to shape society, what is our responsibility? Václav Havel just captures the heart of the issue so perfectly here. If we have the technology to engineer social change at lightning speed, the question isn't a technical one anymore, it's a moral one. Can our sense of right and wrong even keep up with what we're able to do?
Now, this is really interesting because it lays out a clear moral checklist for telling the difference. A good tipping point empowers people. A dangerous one takes away their judgment. A good one is honest about the risks. A dangerous one makes sure the people who designed it never face any consequences. And this all brings us to the ultimate conclusion from this whole imagined debate. Knowing how to tip a system, how to make society move quickly, that's the easy part. The real wisdom, the true test of responsibility, might just be knowing when not to. And so that leaves us with one final, very challenging question for our time. In an age that just worships speed and disruption, does our society even have the ability to choose restraint over acceleration anymore? The answer to that, well, it's pretty much going to define our future.